What happens when Hollywood royalty meets corporate reality? Sometimes it ends with unauthorized filming, legal threats, and a career hanging by a thread. Right now, behind the glass towers of Netflix headquarters, executives are dealing with what might be the most bizarre contract dispute in streaming history. It involves secret filming sessions, protest videos, and a former royal who seems determined to burn every bridge on her way out of town. Here's what's really happening between Meghan Markle and Netflix, and why industry insiders are calling it the most spectacular professional meltdown they've witnessed in years. The story begins with what should have been a dream partnership. When Meghan signed with Netflix, it represented everything she'd been working towards since stepping back from royal duties: creative control, financial independence, and the platform to tell stories that mattered to her. The contract was substantial, the possibilities seemed endless, and for a moment it looked like she'd found her perfect Hollywood home. But that fairy tale came to an abrupt end this year. In a meeting that sources describe as uncomfortably direct, Netflix executives Greg Peters and Ted Sarandos delivered news that sent shockwaves through Meghan's camp. There would be no contract renewal. The partnership that was supposed to launch her media empire was officially over, with her agreement set to expire in September. Most people in her position would take time to regroup, maybe explore other opportunities quietly, or work with their team to craft a graceful exit strategy. But Meghan's response has been anything but conventional. Instead of stepping back, she's planning what can only be described as the most audacious farewell gesture in recent entertainment history. The project at the center of this controversy is a video that's been months in the making. It's not a typical goodbye message or a professional statement about creative differences. According to multiple sources familiar with the production, this is a full-scale satirical attack on Hollywood's power structure, complete with original music, choreographed sequences, and Meghan herself playing the role of a stereotypical male executive. The concept alone is provocative enough to raise eyebrows throughout the industry. Meghan and her collaborators, dressed in sharp suits, slicked back hair, and prop cigars, performing an elaborate routine that critiques what they see as the toxic masculinity and systemic discrimination embedded in entertainment culture. The accompanying track reportedly tackles themes of misogyny, creative suppression, and institutional bias, with the kind of direct language that makes legal departments nervous. But here's where the story takes a turn that even seasoned Hollywood observers find hard to believe. Part of this production was filmed inside Netflix's own facilities, without permission, clearance, or any official acknowledgement from the company. The details of how this happened read like something from a comedy script, except nobody at Netflix is laughing. Sources describe Meghan arriving at one of the company's studios, already in costume and accompanied by her creative team. What followed was an impromptu filming session featuring hip-hop choreography, dramatic monologues, and elaborate staging, all captured on company property without any of the usual protocols being followed. The footage only came to Netflix's attention when clips began circulating internally, spreading through company chat channels like wildfire. Employees were sharing scenes of their former partner performing in their workspace, treating their facilities like a personal soundstage for what essentially amounts to a corporate diss track. The legal implications became clear immediately. Netflix's attorneys moved quickly, sending formal warnings about using footage captured on company property. The language was reportedly unambiguous, citing specific contract violations and outlining potential consequences if the material is released publicly. Yet Meghan's team seems undeterred by these legal concerns. Multiple sources suggest they're moving forward with plans to release the video in September, timing the drop to coincide with her contract expiration. They're treating the legal warnings as proof that they've created something powerful enough to make Netflix nervous, rather than recognizing the serious professional boundaries they've crossed. The disconnect between how Meghan's camp views this project and how the industry is responding reveals a troubling pattern. While her team sees this as a bold artistic statement, a reclamation of power in the face of corporate rejection, industry veterans are watching with a mixture of bewilderment and concern. The timing couldn't be worse for Meghan's broader career prospects. Her previous viral moment, involving a pregnancy announcement video that sparked widespread confusion and criticism, already had some questioning her media instincts. That controversy left fans puzzled and critics harsh, creating the kind of negative buzz that makes studios hesitant about future partnerships. Now, with this new video project threatening to overshadow any legitimate creative work, the damage to her professional reputation could be irreversible. Netflix is reportedly considering pulling the plug on remaining footage from her existing show, potentially discarding hours of expensive content rather than continuing to work with someone they now view as a liability. The ripple effects extend far beyond one streaming platform. Casting directors, agents, and executives at other studios are taking note of how this situation unfolds. In an industry where reputation and reliability matter enormously, the perception that working with Meghan comes with unpredictable drama and potential legal complications is becoming a significant barrier to future opportunities. Industry professionals who once championed her are quietly distancing themselves. Publicists are removing her from pitch presentations, agents are avoiding her calls, and producers are simply moving on to other projects. It's not necessarily about taking sides in her dispute with Netflix, but rather about avoiding the exhausting unpredictability that seems to follow her professional relationships. The most striking aspect of this entire situation is how confidently Meghan's team is proceeding despite the obvious risks. They're not just ignoring legal warnings, they're actively promoting the controversy, reaching out to media outlets to build anticipation for what they're positioning as a groundbreaking artistic statement. This confidence suggests a fundamental misunderstanding of how the entertainment industry actually operates. While controversy can sometimes generate valuable publicity, there's a crucial difference between strategic provocation and reckless boundary crossing. The unauthorized use of Netflix property crosses a line that even the most publicity-savvy celebrities know not to cross. The video itself, based on leaked descriptions, feels more like an elaborate social media stunt than serious commentary. The imagery of Meghan stomping through hallways in a business suit, puffing on prop cigars, and barking orders at friends playing assistants reads more like parody than protest. The production values might be professional, but the concept feels disconnected from the sophisticated image she's worked to cultivate. Netflix executives, particularly Ted Sarandos, are reportedly baffled by the entire situation. These are people who've navigated complex negotiations with some of the biggest names in entertainment, but they're struggling to understand the logic behind Meghan's approach. The unauthorized filming isn't just unprofessional. It demonstrates a level of disregard for basic business relationships that makes future partnerships virtually impossible. The legal team at Netflix isn't just concerned about contract violations. They're worried about setting a precedent. If high-profile talent can use company facilities for unauthorized personal projects, especially ones that mock the company's leadership, it creates a dangerous situation for future partnerships. Their response needs to be firm enough to discourage similar behavior from other frustrated former partners. As September approaches, both sides seem locked into positions that make compromise unlikely. Meghan's team is treating this as their moment to make a statement about creative freedom and industry power structures. Netflix is viewing it as a clear-cut case of contract violation and professional misconduct that requires a strong response. The broader entertainment community is watching this unfold with a mixture of fascination and concern. Some see it as evidence of how quickly Hollywood relationships can deteriorate when expectations aren't met. Others view it as a cautionary tale about the importance of maintaining professional boundaries, even when creative partnerships end badly. For Meghan personally, this represents a critical moment in her post-royal career. The choices she makes in the coming weeks could determine whether she's remembered as someone who challenged industry norms or as someone who sabotaged her own opportunities through poor judgment and reckless behavior. The irony is that she could have leveraged her high profile and legitimate grievances about industry treatment into meaningful change. There are real conversations to be had about representation, creative control, and the treatment of women in entertainment. But by choosing confrontation over collaboration and unauthorized filming over constructive dialogue, she's undermined her own message. What makes this situation particularly tragic is how avoidable it all was. The end of the Netflix partnership, while disappointing, didn't have to become a career-defining controversy. A graceful exit, followed by strategic positioning for future opportunities, could have preserved relationships and maintained her market value. Instead, the focus has shifted from her creative potential to her professional judgment. Studios considering future partnerships aren't evaluating her talent or market appeal. They're trying to assess the risk of working with someone whose response to disappointment involves unauthorized filming and legal confrontations. The entertainment industry has a long memory for this kind of behavior. While it's forgiving of many personal and professional missteps, it's much less tolerant of actions that cross fundamental business boundaries. The unauthorized use of company property, combined with the mockery of corporate leadership, represents the kind of bridge burning that's difficult to recover from. As the clock counts down to her contract expiration, Meghan faces a choice that will likely define the next chapter of her career. She can recognize the seriousness of her situation, work to repair relationships, and focus on building a sustainable media presence. Or she can proceed with her confrontational approach, accepting the likelihood that it will close doors throughout the industry. The video project that was supposed to be her statement of creative independence may instead become her farewell to Hollywood. Not because the industry couldn't handle her message, but because the way she chose to deliver it violated too many professional norms to be overlooked. The most troubling aspect of this entire situation is how it reflects a disconnect between personal conviction and professional strategy. Having strong opinions about industry practices is admirable. Using those opinions to justify behavior that damages your own career prospects is self-defeating. In the end, this controversy says less about Netflix's treatment of creative talent and more about the importance of maintaining professional relationships, even when those relationships become strained. The entertainment industry is built on collaboration, trust, and mutual respect. When those elements break down, the consequences can be swift and lasting. For viewers watching this unfold from the outside, it serves as a reminder that behind every entertainment partnership are real people making real decisions that have real consequences. The glamorous image of Hollywood often obscures the fundamental business relationships that make the industry function. Meghan's story with Netflix began with tremendous promise and potential. How it ends will depend on whether she can recognize the difference between making a statement and making a mistake. The choice is still hers to make, but the window for course correction is closing rapidly. The entertainment world will continue to watch and wait, not just to see what happens with this particular video, but to understand what it reveals about the changing dynamics between talent and studios in the streaming era. Whatever the outcome, it's already become a case study in how quickly professional relationships can deteriorate when expectations, communication, and judgment all break down simultaneously. The silence that may follow all this noise could indeed be the loudest chapter yet, not just for Meghan, but for anyone trying to understand how to navigate the complex intersection of creativity, commerce, and celebrity in modern entertainment.